A pleasant day to the young and enthusiastic learners. I'm Dr. Shobha Edward, Principal, Associate Professor, and Head of the Department of Corporate Secretaryship, KCS Kasinada College of Arts and Science. Now, I shall be handling statistics for you. Now, moving on to the introduction to statistics. So, as I introduce you, a hearty welcome into this team. Statistics. What is statistics? Statistics is defined as the collection, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of numerical data. What is collection of data? Data collection is the process of gathering and measuring information on variables of interest in an established systematic fashion that enables one to answer research questions, test hypotheses, and evaluate outcomes. So, for the purpose of statistical analysis, we will be collecting data. Now, when we go on to the characteristics of statistics, statistics can be characterized in two types: statistics as a data, statistics as a method. Statistics as a data first. So, as a data, it means statistics is dealing with numbers. So, it is an aggregate of facts. It is affected by multiplicity of causes. It is numerically expressed, enumerated or estimated, and it should be collected with reasonable accuracy, and it should be done in a systematic manner. When we speak about statistics as a method, so as a method, it is the collection, presentation, analysis, interpretation of data. So all these 5 stages put together is statistics as a method. So the 5 stages from the definition itself goes as follows: collection of data, organization of data, presenting data, analyzing the data, and interpreting the data. So we will first collect data, we will organize it as we need it, and then we will present it, then analyze, and from our analysis we will be interpreting the data. Now, going on to the functions of statistics, it simplifies complexity, it is definite, it helps to compare, it enlarges individual experience, it formulates and tests hypotheses, it helps in testing the laws of science, it foresees the future course, it studies relationship, and it helps government and policy formulation. The scope or the importance of statistics. Statistics is used in varied fields: statistics and the state, statistics and economics, marketing, production, finance, banking, investment, purchase, accounting, control, credit, personal, research and development. Statistics also plays its role in physical sciences and natural sciences. Now, to list out the uses of statistics, it helps in providing a better understanding and exact description of a phenomena of data. Statistics helps in proper and efficient planning of a statistical inquiry in any field of study. Statistics helps in collecting an appropriate quantitative data. Statistics helps in presenting complex data in a suitable tabular, diagrammatic, and graphic form for an easy and clear, comprehensive understanding of data. Statistics helps in understanding the nature and pattern of variability of quantitative data. Statistics helps in drawing valid inference from our data, which is tested and interpreted. Limitations of statistics: it does not deal with individual data. It deals with only quantitative data, and qualitative data is not dealt with. It may lead to wrong conclusion in the absence of details, and statistical laws are true only on an average. It does not reveal the entire story, and it should be uniform and homogeneous, and statistics is likely to be misused. Now, going on to the collection of data, we were speaking about the data to be collected for analysis and interpretation. So while collecting, we will have primary data and secondary data. Primary data is nothing but the first hand information where you go and collect the data. Secondary data is already collected by somebody and you are going to reuse it. So that is secondary data. So again, a recap. Primary data is original in character and are generated by the government, individuals, institutions and research bodies. Secondary data are not originally collected but which is already published or unpublished sources are there and it is reused again as secondary data. So this is primary and secondary data. Now we have the methods of collecting primary data. It can be a direct personal interview, indirect oral interview, information from correspondence, mailed questionnaire and the schedule. Direct personal interview has some merits as well as some limitations. So this is the first hand and original information that is collected where you directly go and interview a person and collect data. So the merits, response is very encouraging and people are willing to give information. It's more accurate and it's possible to collect additional supplementary information and the language of the communicator can be adjusted to the person who is being interviewed and misinterpretation is avoided. The limitation is very costly because you have to go and visit every interviewer and personal bias is there. Interviewers have to be trained and supervised and it requires more time. Now for the direct personal interview, it is suitable. For intensive survey, you can also use telephone interviews and that is less expensive. But the defects, everyone does not have a telephone and very few questions can be asked. Respondents may be vague with their answer and there can be error in communication. Now, the indirect oral interview. The investigator contacts third parties called as witness capable of supplying information, for example, inquiry regarding irregular business, fire accident, theft, etc. The correctness of the information depends on the following. People do not know the full information, ability of the interviewer and the honesty of the interviewer. It is suitable when direct information does not exist or direct source is not reliable. Only then you go for an indirect oral interview. Information from correspondents. So these are agents, they are correspondents who are appointed to collect data for you. Example, the newspaper agencies. Now going for the uses of it, it is cheap and appropriate for extensive investigation. Suitable, it is adopted when information is got at regular intervals from a wide area. So there it is suitable. Now for a mailed questionnaire. So a questionnaire is prepared for the survey and this is sent by post. So questions pertaining to the survey is sent to the informant by post and a request is made along with a covering letter. So the covering letter will say that this particular questionnaire is sent for this purpose and you want them to fill it and send it back to you. Questionnaires can be classified on the following basis: based on the degree of formalization or structure, disguised or lack of disguise, communication method. On the degree of formalization or structure, when a prescribed sequence of question is followed, it is structured. When there is no particular sequence, it is non-structured. When the objective is clear, it is not disguised. When the objective of the questionnaire is not clear, it is disguised. Now for the merits of this questionnaire, it can be easily adopted when the field of investigation is very big. Informants are spread over a wide geographical area, so it's cheap. You just send a questionnaire and you can get the answers. The limitations, it can't be adopted when the informants are illiterate. Uncertainty of response cannot be predicted. Information may not be correct, like you may just tick the first column for everything. So there can be incorrect information, less burden to the respondent. Postage stamp should be prepaid. Sample should be large. You should send the questionnaire to many people Enquiry is needed to be when the response is not got, you have to inquire and collect the information back. Risk of non-response is eliminated. Suitability, when informants are spread over wide area, you use it. Schedules, this is when you don't give a questionnaire. For the higher officials, you prepare an interview schedule and the enumerators get the reply to the questions and they fill it with their own handwriting, especially to the top officials like the directors of a company and so on. Advantage, you can also do this with illiterate informants, and when there is very less response, and also when the information received is more reliable and accurate, you use this. The limitations, it is costly. Training is needed for the enumerators, and the way in which the enumerators conduct the interview will affect the data collected. Suitability used for high rate or response due to contact. Now going on to what this questionnaire is again. Questionnaire is a media of communication between the investigator and the respondent. Questions pertaining to the survey is prepared and sent to various informants by post, and a request is made through a covering letter. So this is a questionnaire. So now, questions which are pertaining to your survey is inquired in the questionnaire, and the types we have already seen. Now we have seen the merits as well, so a recap of what the merits are. Now for the characteristics of a good questionnaire. So when a questionnaire is sent, it should have a covering letter. The number of questions should not be too long. It should not irritate the respondent, so the number of questions should be less. The questions should be logically arranged. You cannot have name of the candidate and you cannot have the school studied and then the age and then some other questions. So there should be some logical sequencing. Questions should be short and simple to understand. Too big questions will be confusing for the respondent. Ambiguous questions, vague questions should be avoided. Personal questions to be avoided. Instructions should be given how to answer, whether you should tick it or whether you should shade it. Objective questions, multiple choice questions is preferred. Open-end questions, if you need specific answers, others, they'll give a blank. So that open-end question may be asked. Yes or no question is preferred, easy to tick yes or no. Questions should look attractive. Questions requiring calculations, you should avoid. You can do the calculations. Pre-testing the questionnaire. So before the questionnaire is administered, a pilot survey should be done, a cross-check should be done, and method of tabulation to be finalized. Now going to the sources of secondary data. Secondary data is the second-hand information, as I already told you. So you can have it from a published source or an unpublished source. Published source means it's already published. Unpublished source, it is not published. Published data can be international publication by any international organization, official publication by the central government, the economic survey, etc., semi-official publication by the panchayats, etc., reports of various committees and commissions of the government, journals and newspapers like Economic Times, The Hindu, etc., publications of private institutes like Chamber of Commerce, and so on. Unpublished source, these records are maintained by government, private offices, research institutes, but they are not meant for publication. The data is collected but maintained, but not published. Now, the precaution in use of secondary data. The investigator should take necessary precaution before using second-hand information. So, it is done on the following basis. Suitable purpose of investigation. The investigator must ensure that the data is suitable for the purpose of inquiry. Inadequate data, adequacy of data is to be judged in the light of the requirement of the survey as well as the geographical area. Definition of units, the investigator must ensure that the definition of units which are used by him are the same as in the earlier investigation. Degree of accuracy, so you should bear in mind the degree of accuracy, the time and condition of collection of facts. So if you have sufficient time, you can go in for primary data. If not, go for a secondary data. Comparison, investigator should keep in mind whether the secondary data is reasonable, consistent and comparable. Test checking, the secondary data must be test checked before you use it for calculation. Homogeneous conditions, it is not safe to take published statistics at their face value without knowing the mean values and limitations. Now, for all this data collection, we need to do it by sampling. So, we don't approach the entire population, we actually take a sample. So, we have various methods of sampling: the simple random sampling, the stratified random sampling, multi-stage sampling, cluster sampling, and so on. So we take a small sample size which is used for our data collection and analysis is done. So this is for what statistics is actually. So it is just the collection, analysis and interpretation of data. So with statistics, we will be able to approach various fields, especially the government policy making, accounting and various other fields. So thank you and have a happy and smart learning.